Well, welcome back in our series on the Worry Woos, this amazing program that looks at enhancing children's social and emotional literacy. No character is more important than this one you're meeting today. Call it Big Nose or whatever, but that's Rue. Rue hates the way she looks or he looks, depending on which way you want to use it. You can use it either way, but it's got to be he or she because she's got a belly button, so I suppose that means she's one of us. Now, on this slide you can see where Rue fits in, and you can see that that it's this body image and self-esteem. I can't tell you how important this little character is, because as kids age, their body image becomes so paramount. They don't like this about themselves. They don't like that. They don't like their height. They don't like their weight. They don't like their hair. They don't like their skin. Now, if we can get on top of that when the kids are little so that they do like themselves, regardless of whatever imperfections they have, that's going to last a lifetime. And so it's important we do. You'll see this slide, you will see this Rue sitting up there, and you'll notice the little book that Andy Green's prepared for Rue on the monster of insecurity. I've got so many stories that I could share about children with body image problems and the damage it does. A lot of it has to do with self-esteem. If you look at this checklist, you will notice a guideline as to whether their self-esteem is okay. Do they make friends easily? Are they active and happy in the way they play in their interactions with others? Are they happy with the way they look? Can they make decisions easily? Do they have energy in the morning? Are they interested in new things and taking initiative? Are they confident in tackling day-to-day tasks? You'll see, if you've seen any of the other videos, there is overlap. There's always overlap. And you can cover self-esteem with that. You can cover body image with that. You can bring in fuddle who can't make decisions easily. So you don't have to stick just with the one activity. But the way I've designed it is that teachers will have one activity with one character per week. And I've designed the program, which is in this booklet here that comes with the kit, on a 5-day basis. But many of the early childhood centres, many of the schools, some librarians only get the kids once a week, so they do different parts and different sections. The first part will be just introducing Rue and what Rue's different about. The second day would be reading the book about Rue and what she didn't like about herself. And of course, her big one was she didn't like a big nose. And so she got it changed. And then when she got it changed, no one knew her. And they didn't like her because that wasn't Rue. So then we talk about what things about us we don't like. And then we talk about other things that other people don't like. In fact, you can do a lot of activities here where if you've got a good class, teacher can actually, if they're confident, lead up and say, well, I've got to tell you something about me. I really have never liked my hair. And, oh yeah, but Miss So-and-so, that's your hair. You'd look strange if you didn't have that hair. Right, well, are there things about you that you don't like? What would you like to change? And they can mention, oh, I don't like my hair, I don't like my height, don't like my... And that, by sharing that and other kids saying, yeah, well, we like you the way you are, that's the strength of the Worry Woos, this social interactional model where they're getting approval for who they are as they are from the peer group. Not just from a teacher, not from a parent, but from each other. must tell you, I had one story about a kid who had lots of body image problems, and he was, called him Martin, and he was having a lot of difficulty at school, and he was playing up at school, and they went to a private school, and the nun, when he was in year 7, said, okay, now all the class, write down the names of the kids, all the kids in the class, there's a page, right? Now, next to them, put down what you like about them. And it might be their sense of humour, it might be the way they laugh, it might be they're good at sport or music or whatever. And so the kids wrote down something about each of them, and each of the children. And then the nun, that weekend, it was on a Friday, did this activity, and on the Monday she came in and she gave each of them a sheet of what all the kids liked about them. So each person got their sheet. And so Martin got his sheet with all the, and he thought the kids did like him. He thought they paid out on him. He kept that. It finishes a bit sadly in that he was killed in active service in fighting and in a war. But this nun was asked up to his service. And when his parents said, by the way, thank you for coming, and I wanted to give something to you. And they found on his uniform, in his pocket, the list of all the things the kids had written back down there in year 7 about what they liked about him. It just shows you the depth of how far, how important getting accolades and getting assurances from each other is. Now, if you look at this slide, I've just tried to use, I have a penchant for acronyms, and here we have an acronym on self-esteem. So that might help you to remember. Find out, source their interest, because it might be cheerleading, it might be things nothing to do with school, it might be robotics. You don't know, but your class should know. We should know what really turns that kid on, not just sport or not just academic stuff. What really are the things that motivate them so they feel good about who they are. Encourage their talents and focus on their strengths. The L is link them up with others with similar experiences. And if you can't do that in the school, talk to the parent, and the parent could maybe get them involved. I had one kid who had no interest, but strong shoulders. I got him into archery. And so he linked up with the archery club, but it wasn't available at the school. Focus on reframing their skills. So instead of looking at their weakness and their negative self-talk, focus on their strengths and positive self-talk. The letter E, engineer opportunity for positive school involvement with those talents, whether it's singing or one little girl I was seeing just recently struggling so much at school, but she's great at doing backflips, she's great at cheerleading. And so she demonstrated it to the class, and they didn't think she had much talent at all. Now they know. Start class summaries of what we like about, as I mentioned with Martin. Take time. Did you know that on average teachers spend less than 1 minute per child per day in one-to-one conversation? There's not a lot you can do about that, but you could be aware, so you make contact with each kid. A little touch on the shoulder, a little ruffle of the hair, something to say, we're connecting and you matter to me. Elevate your own thinking about the child beyond their problems. So they might not be academically all that clever, but there's a child behind that. There's a real person. There's a wonderful me behind that. And encourage the class in positive self-talk so they're not putting each other down, because that hurts so much. And make contact with the parents and work together on ways we can build up this self-esteem. So poor old Rue is a bit different, doesn't like her nose, but she finds out when she changes it that nobody knew her, nobody liked her. So she asked for the nose back again and she got it. back just before sunset, and then, of course, you would have been stuck with it for life. Again, I refer you to this book, Embrace Your Emotions. It's a cross-curricular guide. It's available on the website. If you go into the Wonderful Me website, you look up the Worry Woos, this cross-curricular book is available. It has so many activities on language arts, visual arts, performing arts, music and movement. And so you'll find activities there that you can use to enhance that self-esteem. As I say, the older they get, the more this becomes an issue. And if we don't get on top of it, then at high school it can lead to certainly school avoidance and even self-harm. So it is an important one, and Haru's important in our little group. But I've talked to you about what might happen in the clinic and things that I've worked with, but what about happens in the classroom? If you're a teacher or an educator, how do you embrace RUE? What activities did you do or could you do that would help the children build up that positive self-image and a good feeling about their body image that will last them through a lifetime? Well, I'm not going to say any more because I'm not the expert in the school, but we do have Lee, and Lee is going to talk to us about how she uses the RUE to build up self-image and self-esteem in her classroom. Okay, let's talk to Lee. So we're lucky enough to have Lee with us from Erina Heights Public School, and the whole school has embraced the Worry Woos, and I know Lee has embraced them for some years now, but just today I'm asking her if she could talk about RUE, because RUE matters so much to me because it's such an important little character. So what sort of things have you been doing, Lee, in the classroom with RUE, getting the kids to become familiar and benefit from this?
Okay, so in my stage 2 classroom, I actually ran a unit of work focusing around RUE and focusing on perception and body image, which is what RUE is all about. So over 5 lessons or 6 lessons, we actually looked at all different things that focused around perception and body image and RUE's insecurities and his journey that he went on. I used lots of different syllabus outcomes that I worked towards because I used an integrated unit. Focusing on really developing the students' feelings about themselves and getting them to challenge themselves to move forward to get a more positive outlook. So we looked at different things, like in our first lesson we set the scene, and one of our big set the scene activities was they actually had to draw a self-portrait of themselves and how they saw themselves. So that took a lot of discussion around and talking to get them to understand where they were at with their body image and how physically they saw themselves. So that was our big part of our first lesson. And then after we'd investigated the text a little bit more, what we did to carry on that lesson was we actually looked at getting information off our peers and understanding that peers actually see you different than you see yourself. So we did a little activity that focused on pointing out qualities about each other that we like. So all of my students went around and gave each other feedback about one positive thing about their physical appearance. And that was really uplifting to see the students actually read the feedback and have the feedback in their hands that, you know, they might have great skin, or they might have awesome hair, or they might have liked the shirt that they were wearing or something like that. And then what they did is they repeated that art activity again, and they drew their portrait based on how their peers saw them. So then at the end, they were able to compare how they saw themselves and then how the peers saw themselves. And there was a substantial difference in the images and what they came up with, and you could actually see off the students how excited they were and how proud, I guess, they were of how everybody else saw them. So that was really exciting to see, and it was a really powerful lesson to be able to experience that with the students, and even just for them to read that feedback, things that they'd never considered about themselves that their peers had given onto them. So that we worked through that in the first couple of lessons, and then in activity 4 we turned it into a lesson 4 we turned it into a bigger activity, and we actually created a play or a literature response of some kind, a dramatic scene or something, to go around the idea of body image. So they could either turn Rue's book into a different book with different characters, they could act out the book simply, or they could come up with a whole new scene based on that. So the students were then working in groups to develop a little play or develop a dramatic scene around body image and being able to communicate that. So that was a big part of the lesson, where they'd be able to use their creative arts outcomes. And then what we've done and what we're working through currently at the moment is actually using green screen technology to be able to film their plays and their drama, and be able to then change the background and put backgrounds into the skits or the scenes to match with their feelings and body image. So it's been a really great unit to use all sorts of different outcomes to come together with some different activities.
How have the kids, I just gather from what you're saying that they've enjoyed it. What do you think have been some of the best outcomes for your group?
The thing that sticks in my mind is particularly the posted activity, where they had to reflect on each other, because that was really hard for them, particularly at year 3 and 4. They're worried about what the girls think of the boys and the boys think of the girls. So hearing that feedback off both genders and people that they may not necessarily be great friends with and things like that really pumped them up, and really were able to, it was kind of like a light bulb moment for them, where they were able to go, oh, okay, this is how this person sees me, or I don't really have a big nose, or they've never noticed my big ears that I think that I have. So that was really powerful for the students, I think, to see that, you know, we're always very negative on ourselves. It's easy to be negative rather than positive. And I think our students today and our kids in our society today are very good at being negative as well. So having that positive side, and then having their artwork then to compare that and actually see that in concrete, was really powerful. And I think doing the drama or the literature response has been good, because then they've been able to work out and put forward their understanding of body image and perception and communicate that to a wider audience. So I think it's been the book has been a really powerful book and a really great catalyst for some awesome teaching and learning to happen in the classroom.
Lee, you've been working with the Worry Woos for a while now, and I'm just excited by, I love that art activity, how they see themselves and then how others see them, and how you've used the group to strengthen their feelings, and it strengthens the group as well. I have the feeling, the longer I'm working with the Worry Woos, that Rue is much more important in that network than we do Wince and we do Twitch, all of which are important. But that Rue, this self-image thing, is just coming through as being an increasingly important character that for kids to get exposure to.
I absolutely agree, and I think given that it's a stage 2 class and my experience with the Worry Woos has been more catered to, being able to do something so significant as body image with stage 2 students that understand body image a little bit more and understand insecurities and understand their perceptions of themselves, I think was just so amazing, because it really hit home to them of what it means to have a positive and negative outlook. And I think that body image, particularly in our day and age, in our community with social media the way that it is, and the way it's a very natural thing to compare with each other, I think it's something that is just such a big issue in our community, that the book and Rue's character is so very important in communicating that it is actually not, and the way that we see ourselves isn't necessarily the way that other people see ourselves. And to be true to ourselves and love ourselves, which is what one of the quotes out of the book, is actually such a really important thing, but it's very unattainable unless we teach that to students. So we need to give them the skills to be able to use that and understand what that means.
I'm just amazed, always been impressed, Lee, with what you do with the children in the classroom, and I just thank you for your contribution, and hopefully a lot of students, a lot of teachers will benefit from the work that you've shared with us with Rue. And so thanks very much for being part of it.
Thanks, Dr. John.